Welcome back, everyone, to the Deep Dive. Today we're tackling something that's probably on a lot of your minds, especially if you're in security, IT, business leadership, any of those areas. We're talking about security analytics at scale.
And you hit the nail on the head. It's a huge challenge.
It really is. I mean, the data is just relentless.
It never stops. It just keeps coming. And for a lot of organizations, it can feel like they're drowning in it.
Exactly. It's not just about collecting the data anymore. It's about knowing what to do with it.
Right. Like, how do you find those crucial signals in all that noise? The ones that actually point to a real threat. That's the real challenge.
That's what we're going to try to unpack today. Yeah. So instead of just reacting to every single alert that pops up, we want to give you a framework for approaching security analytics a little more strategically.
Yeah, we're going to focus on the core principles, look at how the systems work, even how algorithms can help you manage all this information.
The goal is to be smart.
Right.
About where you direct your resources. Understand the why behind the what. Okay, so let's start with the basics. When we talk about cybersecurity, what are we actually trying to protect here?
We're talking about protecting what we call digital assets. Think of it as anything that holds value in the digital world. Systems, networks, applications, the data itself. And the thing is, all of it is vulnerable to cyber attacks.
So we're talking about a really broad scope here. I mean, how do we even begin to protect all of that?
That's where having a strong cybersecurity strategy becomes really important. A good strategy will address three core areas: protection, detection, and response.
Okay, so let's break those down a bit. Protection, that one seems pretty straightforward. Are we talking about firewalls, antivirus software, the things that prevent attacks from happening in the first place?
Yeah, those are definitely part of it. But protection goes beyond just those basic tools. It's about having layers of security. Think about controlling who has access to what, through identity and access management systems. It's about securing each computer and device on your network, protecting the networks themselves, the applications, and of course, protecting the data itself. That's crucial.
It's about making sure that even if someone gets past one layer of protection, there's another one there waiting to stop them. But what happens when those defenses fail? What happens when a threat does slip through the cracks? That's where detection comes in.
Exactly. Detection is about monitoring your systems, looking for signs of suspicious activity. Basically, you're trying to catch those threats that have already managed to get past your initial defenses.
So how do we do that effectively, especially when we're talking about such a huge amount of data?
Right. That's where tools like security information and event management systems become really important. We usually call them SIEMs for short. These systems, they collect and analyze log data from various sources, different points across your network, all to help you pinpoint potential security incidents.
So a SIEM is kind of like a central hub for all this security data. It pulls information from all these different places and tries to make sense of it all, looking for those red flags, the things that could mean there's a problem.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. And then you have another type of platform called Extended Detection and Response, or XDR, which takes things a step further.
Okay, so how is XDR different from a SIEM?
Well, while a SIEM collects and analyzes the data, an XDR system correlates it. It pulls that data from many more sources. Think about your endpoints, the networks, your cloud environments, so it gives you a much more complete picture of what's happening. It helps you connect the dots between events that might seem isolated but could actually be part of a larger attack.
So it's instead of getting bogged down in each individual alert, you're able to see the forest for the trees, get a sense of the bigger picture.
Exactly. It's about seeing the connections, understanding the full story.
So we've got protection, we've got detection. What about response? What happens once you actually detect a threat?
That's where things get really critical. Speed and efficiency are everything. You need to mitigate that threat as quickly as possible, contain the damage. That's where SR comes in: security orchestration, automation, and response.
Okay, SOR, another acronym, but it sounds important. What exactly does a SESR platform do?
Think of it as automating and coordinating your incident response. It's everything from gathering more information about the threat to containing it, even repairing the damage it might have caused. It streamlines your response, which is crucial when you need to react quickly and effectively.
So it's like having a playbook for dealing with these incidents, but instead of flipping through the pages, it helps you execute the plays automatically and much faster.
Yeah, a good analogy. Automation is key, especially when every second counts.
That makes sense. But we can't really talk about security analytics without talking about AI, artificial intelligence. It seems like it's playing an increasingly important role. Where does it fit into all of this?
It's becoming essential, especially for those security operations centers, the SOCs. Those teams are often just overwhelmed by the sheer volume of data they have to deal with. AI offers a way to manage that complexity.
So how is AI actually being used in security analytics right now?
It's doing a lot. For example, it allows for continuous monitoring across this massive attack surface, something that would be impossible for humans to do manually. And then it can automate threat protection, using advanced analytics to identify complex attacks that might slip past human analysts.
So it's like having a force multiplier for these security teams, helping them analyze more data, see things they might otherwise miss, and respond to threats much faster.
Exactly. AI is becoming a crucial tool in this fight against these increasingly sophisticated cyber attacks.
This is all really fascinating stuff, and we've covered a lot of ground already. We talked about digital assets, the different areas of cybersecurity, the tools, the technologies. Where do we go from here?
Let's dig a bit deeper into those specific ways AI is being used, because that's where things get really interesting. One of the most interesting ways AI is being used, is for threat hunting. We're not just sitting around waiting for alarms to go off anymore. We're actively searching for those hidden threats.
So we're taking a more proactive approach now. Instead of just reacting to incidents, we're trying to, find those needles in the haystack before they become a problem?
Exactly. And AI is making that possible. I mean, imagine trying to manually go through massive amounts of data looking for those tiny clues that might suggest a hidden threat. It'd be overwhelming for any human, right? But AI-powered tools, they can analyze that data much faster, more effectively, too. And they can pick up on those subtle patterns, anomalies that could point to a hidden attack.
It's almost like having this, digital bloodhound sniffing out those threats. But how do these AI systems know what to look for? Are they just looking for anything that seems out of the ordinary?
Well, there were a few different approaches. One common one is to use AI to analyze known attacker behaviors.
Yeah.
Like, there are frameworks out there that catalog real-world tactics and techniques that attackers use.
Right. Yeah.
And AI systems, they can be trained to recognize those patterns and then alert security teams if they see similar activity happening in their environment.
So it's like having a library of, attacker fingerprints? And the AI is constantly comparing what it's seeing to that library, looking for any matches, anything that suggests a known attack pattern.
That's a good way to think about it. But AI can also be used to detect anomalies, those activities that deviate from the norm.
Okay.
But they might not match any known attack pattern. This is really valuable for uncovering those zero-day attacks, the ones we haven't seen before.
So that's really powerful. AI can help us find the known threats and the unknown ones, the ones we've never even seen before. That's pretty amazing. But I imagine there's a challenge here. How do you manage the sheer volume and complexity of the data itself?
Yeah, that's the big question, isn't it? We're dealing with this deluge of data coming from all sorts of sources, your servers, network devices, cloud applications, you name it. It's not even just the amount of data, it's the variety, the speed at which it's all generated. It's just a constant fire hose of information.
It sounds overwhelming, honestly. Where do you even begin to make sense of it all?
One way to think about it is through what we call the log event lifecycle. It's basically the journey that a security event takes, from the moment it's detected to the point where you take action.
So it's like a framework for understanding how we handle all this security data, right? From the initial detection of a potential problem to the final resolution.
Exactly. And this life cycle, it has several key stages. It starts with collecting the raw data from all those different sources I mentioned, your systems, networks, cloud environments, all of that.
Okay, so step one is gathering all the raw ingredients. What happens next?
Then comes ingestion. That's where you take that raw data and make it usable, make it something you can actually analyze. Might involve parsing the data, normalizing it, enriching it with some additional context.
You can't just collect the data. You have to clean it up, organize it, make sure it's in a format that your analytical tools can actually understand.
Right. And once that data has been ingested, it moves on to analysis. That's where you try to separate the signal from the noise, filter it, index it, search through it, all to try and identify those potential threats.
So this is where you start looking for the red flags, the clues that suggest something might be wrong.
Yep. And this is where those rules-based alerts we talked about earlier come in. So based on those known attack patterns, suspicious activities, you can set up rules that trigger alerts when those conditions are met.
So you're basically setting up these tripwires throughout your environment, and if someone trips one, the alarms start ringing.
A good way to put it. Then once an alert's been triggered, you move into the detection phase. That's where you investigate the alert, figure out how serious it is.
So this is where the human element really comes into play, right? Someone have to actually look at those alerts, understand the context, and figure out if it's a real threat or just a false alarm.
Absolutely. And this is where the skill and experience of your security analysts are really critical. They have to be able to connect the dots, understand the attack, figure out what needs to be done.
Okay, so then we finally get to the response phase. This is where you actually take action to contain the threat, try to mitigate the damage.
Yes. And this is where having those well-defined processes, those playbooks we mentioned, that's essential. You need to know exactly what steps to take, who needs to be involved, how to communicate effectively.
This whole life cycle makes sense. It's a logical flow. But how do organizations actually put all of this into practice? Are we talking about specific systems, specific processes?
Yeah, we are. Security analytics pipelines, they're really the backbone of any effective security analytics operation. And there are three main pipelines to think about: data engineering, data analytics, and machine learning.
Okay, let's break those down a bit. Starting with data engineering, what does that involve?
Think of the data engineering pipeline as like managing the data itself. It's all about storage, indexing, retention, making sure you can search through that data efficiently. It's the foundation for everything else.
So it's like building the infrastructure, the plumbing for your security data.
Exactly.
Right.
And then you've got the data analytics pipeline. That's where you actually extract meaningful insights from the data using charts, dashboards, reports, all to help the analysts understand what's happening, spot those potential threats.
So it's about making the data visually understandable so you can see those patterns, those anomalies, the things that might signal a problem.
Precisely. And this is where those security analysts we talked about, their role is crucial. They have to be able to interpret the data, understand the context, and make those informed decisions.
And it sounds like the human element is still very much at the heart of this, even with all this technology we have at our disposal.
Absolutely. Technology, it can help enhance those human capabilities, but it can't replace human judgment, that intuition.
That's good to hear.
Hmm.
Okay, so we've got data engineering, data analytics. What about that third pipeline, the machine learning pipeline?
That one's all about automating the analysis and threat detection. It involves things like selecting the right features from your data, choosing the right algorithms, deploying those models, managing them over time.
So this is where AI really shines, using algorithms to sift through all that data and automatically identify potential threats.
Exactly. And it can be incredibly powerful, especially for detecting those unknown threats, the ones that don't fit any known pattern.
Okay, so this is all starting to paint a clear picture of how this works, how security analytics operates at scale. But I'm curious, are there any platforms, any tools that are commonly used to implement these pipelines?
Oh, yeah, definitely. There are platforms specifically designed for handling big data, platforms that can search through it efficiently, visualize the results. And then you have tools for ingesting the data from all those different sources, transforming it into a usable format, routing it to the right systems.
So there's a whole ecosystem of tools and technologies all working together to make this possible.
Yeah, it can be a pretty complex landscape, but there are solutions out there that can help organizations manage that complexity effectively.
So it's clear there's a lot to think about when it comes to security analytics.
Mhm.
But I imagine there were some common mistakes that organizations make, things they should try to avoid.
Oh, yeah, for sure. One of the biggest ones is trying to do too much too soon. Security analytics can be complex, and it's important to start with a well-defined scope. Start small, and then gradually expand your capabilities as you gain experience, build your confidence.
So don't try to boil the ocean, right?
Right.
Start with a specific problem, a use case, and build from there.
Exactly. And another common mistake is neglecting data quality. Your analytics are only as good as the data you're feeding them. If it's inaccurate, incomplete, inconsistent, your results are going to be unreliable.
It's like the old saying, garbage in, garbage out.
That's it. Data quality is paramount. And finally, don't underestimate the importance of human expertise. Even with all the automation, you still need skilled security analysts to interpret those results, make those informed decisions, respond effectively to threats.
So it's about finding that balance between automation and human expertise.
Exactly. It's about using technology to help people, to make them better at what they do, not to replace them altogether.
So we've talked a lot about where things are now, but I'm always curious about the future. What's coming next? What trends and innovations are we going to see in security analytics?
Well, it's a fast-moving field, that's for sure. But one of the biggest trends we're seeing is definitely the shift towards cloud-based solutions. For security analytics, the cloud just offers so many advantages. It's scalable, it's flexible, it's cost-effective. So it's becoming really attractive to organizations of all sizes.
So are we moving away from those on-premises solutions completely then?
Not necessarily. I think it's more likely that we'll see a hybrid approach, where organizations are using a mix of on-premises and cloud-based solutions to fit their specific needs. But yeah, the cloud is going to play a much bigger role in the future of security analytics. I'm sure of that.
Makes sense. The cloud is changing everything these days. What else is coming down the pipeline?
We'll see more advancements in AI and machine learning, definitely. As those technologies get even more sophisticated, we can expect to see more powerful tools, tools that'll help organizations detect and respond to threats even more effectively.
So AI will continue to be that force multiplier, helping security teams do more with less.
Exactly. But as AI gets more powerful, security professionals will need to keep up. They'll need to deepen their understanding of these technologies, learn how to use them effectively, and how to interpret the results.
Sound like continuous learning is more important than ever in this field.
Absolutely. The threats are always changing, and security professionals have to change right along with them.
This has been a really eye-opening conversation. I feel like I've got a much better understanding of just how complex security analytics is at scale. But I'm sure our listeners are probably wondering, where do I even start? What's the first step for an organization that's just starting to explore all of this?
The most important thing is to define your goals. What are you trying to achieve with security analytics? What are the specific threats that worry you the most? Once you understand your objectives, then you can start to build a strategy, figure out the right tools and technologies for your specific needs.
So it's about having a roadmap before you start the journey.
Exactly. And remember, security analytics, it's not a one-time project, it's an ongoing process. You're always learning, always adapting, always improving. And as those threats change, your security analytics strategy has to change too.
That's a really important point. You're never really done with security analytics. It's always evolving.
Precisely. And it's a journey that requires, well, it requires technology, expertise, and a commitment to staying ahead of the curve.
Well said. This has been a deep dive indeed, and I hope our listeners feel a little more empowered to tackle those challenges, those security analytics challenges at scale, knowing they have the knowledge and the resources to succeed. Thanks for listening, everyone.